Coming up in this episode of iCantCU, I'll tell you about something I had to do at the very last minute to go to Pittsburgh. It was a long train ride, a smelly hotel, but I squeezed a lot in the one full day I was in the Steel City. Hold your nose and stick with me.
From Studio B in Swarthmore, this is the iCantCU podcast with David. It's like blind people for dummies.
Hello there, and welcome to another episode of iCantCU, your window into a world where blindness doesn't dictate ability. My name is David, at David Benj on all the socials. I really appreciate you joining me for this episode, and welcome inside Studio B, which I think is a little bit messier. I think there's even another box or two over to my right. I'm not 100%, but I think Liz snuck another one in. And she's threatened to bring more in. But I have one primary thing to talk about today, and it is my trip to Pittsburgh. It was a very last-minute trip. Back in August, the president of the NFB of Pennsylvania had contacted a few of us asking our availability to do these events at PaTTAN. PaTTAN is the Pennsylvania Training and Technology Assistance Network that helps students from kindergarten through 12th and maybe into college a bit. And they have these events. There was one on the 25th in Pittsburgh, one on the 23rd of October in Malvern in the eastern part of the state, and then one on the 23rd of October in Harrisburg. So 25th of September, 22nd of October in Malvern. I said, sure, I would do the one on the 22nd in Malvern, and I could even do the one in Harrisburg if you can't find somebody. Fortunately, she found somebody, and somebody had taken the one in Pittsburgh. On Monday, the 23rd of September, the person who was going to do the one in Pittsburgh, who lives out in Pittsburgh, couldn't do it, said she couldn't do it. And I was going back and forth with the NFB of PA president, Lynn Heights, and I said, who's going to man that table since the person who was going to do it couldn't do it? She said, I don't know. I can't go, she said. I guess nobody will. I said, I will go out there if you want me to. It's a long trip, and I'll do it because we need to be represented out there because we're not the NFB of Eastern Pennsylvania. We're the NFB of Pennsylvania. And if we're not there at this event to show ourselves and give out some literature and talk to people, people aren't going to know about us, and people are not going to think we're a serious organization. If we're to cover the whole state, we've got to be at every event like this. So I told her I would go. It's Monday, late on Monday now. Monday, I waited for Liz to come home before I verified that I would go. I wanted to clear it with her first. I also had to clear it with someone who, former classmate in school, is the one who comes over and takes care of Ziggy, takes him out and lets him run around a little bit. And I wanted to make sure she was available because the first day, Tuesday, that I'd be traveling, it wasn't going to be as long because I was going to leave around 11 o'clock. But Wednesday and Thursday, Liz had a meeting Thursday afternoon, and I wasn't due back in until about 4. So that's a long time. Liz usually leaves around 7. And on days that Jacob works during the day, he leaves with Liz usually. So that's a long time for him to be cooped up and not get to go outside and run around, go to the bathroom, whatever. After I cleared all that, I then made my train reservation to make sure that I got on the train and that there was a seat available, because when I had checked earlier, there was only a couple of coach seats left at a specific price. And I don't remember what that price was. Round trip, it was $99. And I get a little bit of a discount. There's a discount, a disability discount that I get when I go on some trips, depending on where it is. There's a special bonus discount from Philadelphia, Harrisburg, Philadelphia. So after that, I did a few things. I had to quickly pack because I wanted to make sure I packed and had everything set to go before Liz and Ziggy went up to go to bed, because they go up at around 9 o'clock and I don't go to bed until obviously much later. So I had everything packed up, and then I thought, okay, wait, I've got to make a hotel reservation, and I couldn't get one. I thought I had one at the Hampton Inn near the event, and I had trouble checking out. And when I did finally check out, I thought it was because I had a credit card issue. My credit card had expired, the one that they had on file. Put the new one in, checked out, and then I see that I had reserved the room from the 25th to the 26th. And I thought, well, okay, where am I going to stay on the 24th? So I called Hilton and I canceled that reservation. She tried to get me into another hotel. She couldn't find anything. She mentioned the one that I ended up staying in, which I later booked 2 hours later after searching all these hotels in and around downtown Pittsburgh. I ended up staying at at the one that she suggested. But I'll talk to you about the hotel in a few minutes. Very smelly. But 2 a.m, I got the hotel and I was good to go. I kind of could rest easier after that, literally. Once I'm there, I was hoping. And that night, so I could do a couple other things before I left to go in the morning. The train to Pittsburgh is a 7-hour and 20-minute or so trip, at least scheduled for 7 hours and 20 minutes. It leaves at 12:42 p.m. from 30th Street Station in Philadelphia and arrives in Pittsburgh right around 8 o'clock at night. So it's a long trip, a very long trip. And there's probably, 8 or so stops along the way, from Lancaster, Harrisburg, Exton, Paoli. Where else did we stop? Johnstown, Latrobe, Greenburg. This is the last stop right before Pittsburgh. And I'm sure I'm forgetting a couple along the way. But roughly it took about 7 hours and 20 minutes. Now, the hairy thing for me was not when I was on the train. The train ride was pretty easy. Nothing crazy went on. The craziness was getting to 30th Street Station. I thought if I left between 11 and 11:15 to get my 12:42 p.m. train would be okay. I left around 10 after 11. I really wanted to leave closer to 11. And when I'm sitting in the Lyft, sitting in traffic on I-95, I wish I had left at 11. And I don't know if it would have helped. It would have been a little less nerve-wracking while I was sitting in the car. And the driver kept saying, oh yeah, it says we should be there in plenty of time. We're good. Don't worry about it. What had happened, I later found out, and I thought it was strange as we're going. So in Philadelphia, I-95 runs right through the eastern part of the city, right along the Delaware River and up into Bucks County and so forth. When you go to 30th Street Station, that's in West Philly. So you get off right around the airport. There's a bridge that you go over called the Platte Bridge. And I noticed as we were getting close to that exit for the Platte Bridge, there were cars pulled over in the right. And then I noticed cars, and the driver was saying cars were coming over from 95, coming across the grass median to get on to where we were. And we travel a little further and we stop. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what now? What is this? And as we go a little bit further, we see that I-95 has police cars blocking the entire road. So you can't even, everybody that was on 95 had to come over to where we were. And so we sat there. We sat there so long, just creeping along, going over the Platte Bridge, that I got 2 texts from Lyft saying, hey, it seems to be taking a while. Is everything okay? No, it's not. I'm sitting in traffic, and obviously I'm with your driver. Not technically their driver because they're all independent, right? So as we're creeping up the span of the Platte Bridge, the driver says, oh yeah, we should clear soon. We're just going to cross this bridge and then we're going to turn onto 26th Street that then goes into the Schuylkill Expressway. We should be good. Okay. I enjoyed his confidence and made me feel a little bit better. But meanwhile, we're still creeping. And as we're coming down the span of the Platte Bridge, I asked him, I said, is this traffic continuing straight or is it turning onto 26th Street, making that left to go to the Schuylkill? And he said, he looked a little further down and he said, no, everybody is going straight. So basically, I later found out there was a road rage incident somewhere along the Girard Point Bridge, which is the double-decker bridge that is part of I-95 that goes over the Schuylkill River. and shots were fired. And I didn't see the news story, but that's what I was, that's what I was told. And so the roadway was closed, but everybody continued straight, like the driver said. And when we made the left, we were fairly clear sailing until we got close to the station. Then there was a backup on the Schuylkill Expressway. Not a big deal because we were close. And as we're pulling off the Schuylkill, there was more backups. I said, look here, I feel comfortable. I could get out and walk if I needed to. I didn't need to. And he dropped me off at the station with about 10 minutes to spare. It took me a total of about an hour and 15 minutes to get to the station from my house. And it's usually a 20-minute or so trip, 25-minute trip. So that was the hairy part. I get to the station, not a big deal. I go to the red cap because I'd like to go down the elevator because I've got this backpack that weighed probably about 30 pounds. And I've got my suitcase and I'm carrying a hoodie because I know I'm going to freeze my butt off on the train. So I had I actually put the hoodie on in the station because I got a little cool. And it was a University of Pennsylvania hoodie that I got last year. And somebody said, oh, did you go to Penn? I said, no. I said, we have our Keystone chapter meetings there. And I just like the idea of I like the logo. It's a P that is red and blue with a small white stripe in the middle separating the two. I just like the color combination. And so Liz got me that for my birthday or for Hanukkah last year. So we go down, I get on the train, like I mentioned, not an issue on the train. Everything was good to go. I got one of the handicap seats. In fact, it was great because nobody sat next to me. So I put my backpack there and I was able to spread out nice and easy. My suitcase was right in front of me and it was good. Not an issue at all. Was able to plug in to charge my phone when I needed to, and there were no problems. We get to Pittsburgh at roughly 8 o'clock. I think we pulled in right at 8 o'clock. And by the time we got off the train and me and a few other folks got into a little golf cart to get us from the train to the station itself. And the one thing that I don't like about the Pittsburgh train station, Union Station in Pittsburgh, is you got to walk down those stairs, those tiny stairs. And again, I've got a 30-pound backpack on my back that I'm swaying as I have it on. So I'm carrying my suitcase. I've got the backpack on and I'm handling my cane. So I couldn't hold on. I've got the cane, and I thought, okay, if I fall, what am I going to throw? Do I throw my suitcase or do I throw my cane? But I didn't fall, so I was good. Get on this golf cart. The guy drives us, I don't know, maybe 100 yards to the station. And we go in and I go to the elevator, we go down, I go out, I order the Lyft, and I go to the hotel. Now, I mentioned the hotel in the intro. I paid $123 a night for the hotel. And there was a reason it was $123 a night when all of the other hotels in the area, meaning Pittsburgh, of the same class was over $200 and some over $300. I considered staying at the Sheraton Pittsburgh at Center Square, at Station Square, which was where the convention was, where I'm sure my DNA is still on that wall that I hit my head on. $341. I considered staying at other Hilton properties in the area, also over $300. I couldn't find anything in the low 200s, which I would have paid. And then there's this one that's $123. I thought, what could possibly be wrong with this hotel? Again, a Hampton Inn. They have the breakfast the next day, each day. So that's cool. I get to the hotel and as I'm in the lift and we're getting there, I feel like we're in the middle of nowhere. All I think of is Deliverance because it looked like we were in this in this jungle or in this forest because there's a single lane road and each way, and we're driving and there's nothing else on the street. And again, it's at this point, it's 8:30, 8:45 at night. It's not, it says Pittsburgh, its address is Pittsburgh. It's, I guess, technically Green Tree. And we pull up and I get out and I walk in and I check in. The lady's friendly enough at the desk, a lady from the islands. And she tells me where my room is, right down the hall, 106. I get out of the lobby, the main lobby area, and I walk through what I later found to be 2 double doors. At the time, both doors were open, so I didn't realize they were doors. I'll get to that in a second. And as soon as I went from the tile to the carpet, I noticed this smell. I don't know what it was. It smelled like dead something, dead fish. I don't know what it was. But it was clearly in the carpeting in that hallway. I find my room. I go in. One of my cards didn't work. The lady gave me 2 key cards. One didn't work. One did. Not a big deal. I walk in and I still smell it a little bit. And my feet, the entryway to the room has more tile, and that leads into the bathroom, also tile. And then there's carpeting a little bit, maybe 8 feet in for the rest of the room. I get into the room, it's freezing in there. And again, freezing to me and freezing to you are probably a lot different. I noticed that I take my phone out, I have Seeing AI open, and I find the thermostat, which I somehow noticed out of the corner of my eye. It was right near the door, maybe 5 to 10 feet in. And I immediately take it from, I think it was set at 65. I took it to 72. And as soon as the air stopped blowing, the cold air, I noticed I could smell the smell in the room as well. But I really believe it was coming in from the doorway. It wasn't actually in the room. But again, the tile right at the entryway to the room was very sticky and could have been the solution they used to clean it. I don't know. Whatever it wasn't pleasant. And there were some other minor disrepairs in the room. The toilet paper thing in the bathroom, there was no spindle. So the toilet paper is just sitting, like you're in cell block C with it on the back of the toilet. It just gave me a ooh feeling. Now, I had gone the whole day. I had some snacks with me on the train. I didn't use the cafe car. So I thought as soon as I get there, I'm going to order pizza if there was a pizza guy close by. And I'd looked right before I had gone to bed the night before and saw that there was a pizza place. When I checked in, I asked what is around that I could order from, because I kind of knew there wasn't a restaurant. I said, is there a restaurant here? And the lady said, no, but you can order and have something delivered. I'm familiar how Uber Eats and DoorDash work. I said, there's a pizza place close, right? And she said, yes, I was going to give you the menu. I have the menu. She hands me the menu, and it's the menu for Mario's. And I said, okay, I saw this online when I was looking before I came out here. I go through the menu using Seeing AI, and I call them, I order the pizza, I order a pizza and 2 bottles of water. And it was 14 and change. I forget what the change was. I said, can I pay with credit card? Because I have no cash on me. He said, you can, but if you have cash, we would prefer that when you pay the driver. I said, I don't. I said, I apologize. I left without cash. Liz and I had talked about it, and she had some money to give me, but she forgot to give it to me, and she didn't leave it for me anywhere the next day. So I was cashless. I don't typically like to carry cash anyways, so I wasn't too disappointed. But in this instance, it would have helped because I ended up tipping more than I wanted to because I was leaving the tip before I got my food. So I figured if I tipped a little more and I gave $4 on a $14 order, I figured maybe it would come in one piece and would be fairly warm when I got it. And all was good. The pizza was good. I was happy with it. But the leftover pizza sat in the room. I left before it left. When I checked out, it was still in the room. Nobody ever came into the room to do anything. They didn't come and make the bed. They didn't come to clean anything up, empty the trash, whatever. And I get that sometimes hotels will do that. And again, I'm thinking in my head, this is why it's $123 a night when everybody else is over $200 on any given night for the same branded hotel. Would I stay there again? I don't know. The bed was comfortable enough. The room was okay other than the smell. But again, there were disrepairs that I saw other than the toilet paper thing. I wondered how clean the carpeting was. I wondered how clean everything was because of the various things that I saw. The breakfast was mediocre at best the next day. And in fact, the final day, I didn't even get breakfast there because it just wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth the calories. I had a quote unquote cheese omelet that seemed like one end was burnt, and it was just again mediocre. I was able to get hot tea there. I got hot tea on the day of the event. So on the day of the event, I figured, okay, I looked before I'd left, and I figured if I leave at 8 o'clock, the thing starts at 9. It says it'll take me about 30 minutes to get there. Should be good. I missed my goal by about 15 minutes, and I order the ride share, and I don't remember if it was Lyft or Uber. I order the ride share, and it shows up at roughly 20 after, so after 8. Maybe 25 after, I don't know. But I ordered it around 8:15. As I'm standing outside waiting for the ride to come, it starts to rain, and I'm pretty sure I hear thunder. The ride comes, I get in, and the lady says to me, her name was Elena. She says, "How's your day going so far?" I said, "So far, so good. How about yours?" She said, "You're my first ride of the day, and it's starting to rain, and I'm not too excited about that." We pull out of the hotel. We get on, I don't know what kind of highway it was. It starts to pour, where it was so loud in the car, I had to turn my phone up to hear a text message that had come in. And it is pouring, and we're creeping along. We're stuck in traffic, and I'm thinking, I'm not going to make it in time. And I keep checking the app. And I think it was Lyft. I keep checking, and it says my arrival time. And it's still, I never got after 9 o'clock was my arrival time, which was good because, like I said, the event started at 9. So we're driving, and once we go through this tunnel, and it seemed like a long tunnel, I'm guessing it went under one or more of the rivers that are in and around the Pittsburgh area. And it seems like there's a million bridges in Pittsburgh too. Once we came out of that tunnel, traffic had opened up. But as traffic had opened up, we are hitting these giant puddles along the sides of the road, and the car is moving us around. We're hydroplaning, it felt like, and it was hairy to get there. And we keep hearing thunder, and it's pouring. And I'm texting with Jane, who I guess she was on her way to work on the subway, and she said, "There's a big cell coming." I said, "I don't know that it could rain any harder than it is right now." And sure enough, it let up for a minute, and then it started pouring again. When we got to the area that the address, which we were supposed to go, it's a group of buildings and a whole bunch of different places you can go in. And they never said which entrance to go in. Gate A, gate B, gate C, whatever. They never said what gate that was. So we're driving around the parking lot looking, and finally we get to one, and there was a person standing at this one. So we figured, okay, this is going to be the one. And I went over on the other side of the gate before I punched in the code. I said, "Is this for PaTTAN?" And she said, "Yes." And she actually punched the code in for me, which was great because I couldn't do it fast enough later on to make the gate open. That was great. I go in there. I wasn't too wet at this point because it wasn't a long walk from the car. Where the gate was, there was an overhang, so it wasn't a big deal. I go inside. I tell them who I'm with, and they take me to a table, and I talk to a girl named Tess, who happens to be from the Malvern office, which was great because I'll see her next month on October 22nd. So we talked for a little bit, and I explained that I was filling in for the person who was supposed to come because she couldn't make it. And it kind of made me mad. I'm not going to lie. I traveled over 250 miles for someone who could have traveled 26 miles from their house there to the event. But it's okay. I was there, needed to be there. If it was me or having no representation, it was better that it was me. People are coming up to the table, which was great. I have all these things laid out on the table, and I'm begging people to take. I have these things called kernel books, and they are short stories, not dissimilar from what I'm telling you about things, about what happens to me while I'm out and about. These are stories about blind people who have had issues with certain things, or there's one that I always think back because I know it's happened to someone I know, where this blind couple had a baby, and people were saying, "How could you be a parent if you can't see? We're going to take the baby away," which is just absolutely ridiculous. But stories like that and how they've overcome them or how they've gotten around them or whatever it might be. So I've got a bunch of those different books, and there's around 40 books. I had maybe 8 or 10 different stories. Then I have all sorts of NFB material, different NFB Newsline, which is the service that has newspapers and magazines that you could either use on an app. And I've talked about it before. It's great because when there's a story on WSJ, which has a paywall, I get the headline of the story and I go into my Newsline app and I find the story and then I can read it. The whole thing, not just a minute of it. So that's very convenient. It's also, obviously, if you like to read the newspaper and older folks still wish to use a newspaper, they can do that as well. There's no ads. And at some point, I'm going to make a screen video, a recording of my screen, and show you what it's like to go through an article on my phone with the different ad blocks that are on there and the different video things that start to play and that mess up the screen reader. It is just unreal, to the point where a lot of times I'll get the gist of what this article is about and I'll close it because it's just so frustrating to use it. And that's what Newsline is great for. If you know a headline, if it's a story that's in syndication you can find in the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, it's just as easy to read it on the New York Times or Wall Street Journal. On Newsline, except for the fact I was reading an article the other day on Newsline and it was one giant paragraph, even though the story obviously had multiple paragraphs. So I'm reading this article about a ninth year senior that played at the University of Miami, tight end. And I get a couple of minutes in and I get a text message which stops the voiceover from reading the article and tells me the text message. When I start to go back to the article, I have to start at the beginning. There's no way around that. I either read from the beginning again or I stop. And at that point I figured, okay, I know the guy's name, I know the school, all that. I close the app and move on because, again, I'm not going to read the whole story again because who knows if another text message is going to come in or another notification or a phone call or whatever. So I have information about Newsline. And if you have a vision issue and you're in Pennsylvania, please reach out to me, iCantCU@gmail.com. And all I need is your name, address, phone, email, and I can get you set up with a Newsline account so you can read all that stuff. And again, it's very nice because there's no ads and there's no things that take you away from the actual article. I also have other information from the NFB for seniors, for students. We have a courtesy rules of blindness, which always makes me laugh because everybody says, what's the main thing we should know about blind people? Don't grab our canes and drag us around. Don't grab me and drag me around. And if I've got a guide dog, don't pet my guide dog unless they're off harness and you're invited to do that. So I have all that. I have information about the NFB of Pennsylvania State Convention in Erie coming up in a couple of months in November, which I actually designed the postcard. So it was nice to see the postcard in its printedness that I designed, a few months earlier. And I'm not quite sure, but it didn't look centered. Something didn't look right to me. Again, I got a vision issue, so maybe it was right and I was just not seeing it right, but it looked like some things had moved around. And the one that I sent to the printer or to the person who sent it to the printer was lined up. So I don't know what what went on there. But that's on the table. We have pens. We have pens with NFB of PA logo on it and our web address and all sorts of stuff like that. Blind people, though, I can't use it. If I use a pen, what am I going to do? After I write something down, I got to take my phone out to see what I wrote. So I don't, and these are skinny pens, so I couldn't even hold them. But we give those out, and people love those. Sighted folks love the pens. I don't know why, but they love. I have White Canes Connect business cards there with QR codes so people can go listen to episodes. I have my podcast cards there. I have cards from the president, Lynn Heights. So if people need to reach out to the organization, they could reach out to her. And so I've got all this stuff on the table, which is great. And I'm just praying for people to come and take that. And I was surprised at how packed it was. And I don't know if I would say scores of people came to the table, but dozens. There were dozens. And I got rid of, 5 to 10 pounds of stuff. And that part was good. And it was good that I was there. I got to talk to a lot of people. And to me, it was a successful event. Now, we did have a lunch break, and after the lunch break, it was more of a seminar style thing where people talked about services they provided from the state or from various other organizations. So that part was good. I learned a little bit of stuff there too. But for lunch, I didn't know what I was going to do. I brought a protein bar with me in my backpack, and I thought I was just going to eat that, but there wasn't even a place there to get hot tea, and I knew I needed caffeine for the rest of the day. And I looked on my phone, and there was a Starbucks close, so I figured, I'm going to go to the Starbucks. If they have the turkey bacon egg white sandwich that I love, I'll get that, and I'll save the protein bar, which was great because I eat both protein bars the next day on the train home, one for breakfast, one for lunch. Get to the Starbucks, I do all that. I sit there for a while going through stuff on my phone, and I order the Uber to go back to the event. Now, here's the funny part about this Uber or Lyft, and I think it was Uber, going back to the event. This guy didn't speak much English at all. And when we first pulled in, he said, "We're here." And again, I know I can't see very well, but this didn't look like the same place that I was already at. I said, "Are you sure this is 3190 William Pitt Way? This doesn't look right to me." "Oh, the app took me the wrong way. Let me go back." And we drove down another road and boom, we're there. But then we're driving around the parking lot again. And I'm trying to tell him gate A, building 6, gate A, or something like that. And he's not getting me. And he's punching things into the translator and telling me, I'm listening. And he's telling me to speak so he could read it in his language. And I don't know what the language was. It didn't sound like Arabic. It didn't sound like Farsi. Could have been. It didn't sound, I don't know if it was Turkish. I don't know where he was from, but he wasn't a local product. His English wasn't great. And once we found the gate, I thanked him. And he said a few things to me in English. And I asked him, I said, "Can I ask you?" I said, "Is that Google Translate?" He said, "Yes, Google Translate." And it worked so well. So it kind of gave me confidence that if I go somewhere where they don't speak English, I could get by using that. And I know we have some cleaning people that come from time to time. They don't always speak English, some of the people. So they use that. And I've used that to tell them certain things. They found something under our stove once that they were concerned about. It looked like, something had been scorched. The broiler is at the bottom of our stove, and we've never used that. So we kind of think it's from previous owner. So I felt pretty confident that if I needed to, I could use that if I'm traveling somewhere where they don't speak English. And I go back in, we do the afternoon, like I said, talk to a couple of people afterwards. I talked to Tim, who is I guess he's the head or the director of PaTTAN West. I gave him the White Canes Connect card and asked him to send me, they had a guide with all of the people who were at the event, both people who were presenting, people who were attending, and then vendors like us, the NFB of Pennsylvania. I was most interested because of the vendors thinking that maybe we could get some of them on White Canes Connect. I thanked them, and I go out front and I order a ride share, and I kind of think it was Lyft, but I don't remember. I was going back and forth, pricing one against the other, and I was surprised that sometimes some of the price differences were crazy. $10 difference in some instances, and sometimes more. And it wasn't always one over the other. It went back and forth. But as I finally got into the ride share, I realized I was going to get to this Tupelo Honey, and it was going to be like 4:30. And I'm thinking, man, I'm eating dinner like I'm 80 years old. And I am closer to 80 almost than I am 40. Right now, I'm not. Right now, I'm closer to 40, but only by a month or so. So I get to Tupelo Honey. I go in and I asked the guy, it was dead in there. I said, "Are you guys open?" He said, "Yeah." He asked me if I want to sit inside or outside. I said, outside would be great because it was freezing inside. Again, freezing to me is a lot different, I'm sure, than freezing for you. But as I get older, I am always cold. And so I go outside and I'm going to order that chicken sandwich. My waitress comes over. Her name is Randy. She was outstanding. I sent Liz a picture, and I tried to post it on Instagram, and that's a story for another day, how inaccessible Instagram is. And I guess they figured it's pictures. Blind people can't see pictures. Why do we need to be accessible to them? It was very frustrating to me. But she brings me, I ask her for an iced tea, unsweetened iced tea with extra lemon. She brings me a plate of nice big hunks, quarter chunks of lemon, and it's tea, and it was great. And Liz said, I texted Liz the picture. She said, $100 tip. I didn't give her 100, don't worry. But I gave her quite a bit. I gave her 30% of the bill. But I ordered my sandwich, and she said, do you want that grilled or fried? I said, well, I haven't had it for 2 years. She said, oh, then you want it fried. So I got it fried. It was very good. I really enjoyed it. Got the mac and cheese side, which was good. It wasn't ooze and ahs good from Washington, but it was still pretty good. And as I'm sitting there, I'm realizing by the time I finish dinner, it's still going to be early. What am I going to do? I don't want to sit in the hotel room all night. So I go on my phone and I say, okay, what could I do? Concerts. I go to Google concerts in Pittsburgh on September 25th. Airborne Toxic event was there. I've seen them a couple of times. I've never heard of the opener. Figured no way, not going to go to that. And it wasn't in downtown Pittsburgh. It was at one of the outlying cities around Pittsburgh. Pull up another one, a Rainbow Kitten Surprise. Yeah, they're pretty good. I like them. Let's see who the opener is. Medium build. Again, not a huge fan. Nah, what else could I do? I wonder if the Penguins or the Pirates are at home tonight. I knew the Penguins, it'd be a preseason game. But let me try the Pirates. I pull up the Pirates. Yes! They're playing the Brewers in probably about 2 hours from the time I'm doing this. And so I looked to see what tickets cost. And I was stunned. Online, before fees, $7. So I thought, I'm just going to buy a ticket when I get over there. I order an Uber. It gets canceled after I'm waiting for a few minutes, after I send the message that I'm blind. Now, I was talking with my friend Brian after I got home, and while I realize that I carry a white cane, people who don't know blind don't know that if you use a white cane, you most likely don't have a guide dog. It's not always the case, but if you use a white cane, you typically don't also use a guide dog. Some people do, but it's not usual. But again, if you're not familiar with blind folks, you wouldn't know that. So I don't know if they canceled because they saw blind and thought, uh-oh, this guy might have a dog. I don't want a dog in my car, whatever. That guy cancels. I get another one. That guy cancels, or girl, I don't remember what it was. Then I get this guy who has a white Jeep. It wasn't a Cherokee. I don't remember. Commander, white Jeep, something or other. And he pulls up across the street, and I'm not too thrilled to have to walk across the street, but this street that the restaurant is on is not a busy street, just stop signs at either end. So I cross over, I get in the car, start talking to the guy, tell him I'm from Philly. He ended up, and I don't remember his name, he was awesome. He played football at the University of West Virginia, and we were talking about Philly and Pittsburgh, the differences and things like that, and we were talking about sports. And as we're getting close to the stadium, he's telling me, oh, there's all this rush hour traffic going home and so forth and so on. He said, okay, now we're going to pull up. I'm going to pull up right across from the ticket box, the ticket booth. I said, okay. So we turn the corner and we're across the street from the box office. And I said, okay. He said, the box office is straight across. I said, all right, I'm going to walk back to the corner and then I'll cross from there because I certainly don't want to cross in the middle because I can't. Oh, no, I'm going to walk you across. I said, oh, okay. So we get out and, we're talking. I grab his arm and we walk across the street. He walks me right up to, to the ticket window and I thank him. And I said, in Philly, your car would have been gone already. And he starts to laugh and he's continued to stay with me. And I got my ticket and I tell the guy in the booth, the ticket booth, he said, where do you want to sit? I said, I want the cheapest ticket you have because A, I don't think I'm ever going to sit in that seat. And B, I'm not going to see it no matter where I am, even if I'm sitting on the mound. So it didn't matter. So I ask him, he gives me a ticket. It was $10. I couldn't believe it. $10 for a ticket to get into a Major League Baseball game. I don't know if they have tickets that cheap in Philly. And I get my ticket, I get my receipt, I pay by credit card. I ask him where guest relations is because I want to go to guest relations to get the listening device if they have. And so I turn around and I start to go and the Uber driver is still there waiting for me. He said, I'll walk you down. I said, no, I said, really, I appreciate it. You've been so helpful. Go back before your car is not there anymore. He said, oh, it'll be there. And I guess it was because as I walked down, I had to walk to the end of the block to go into the stadium entrance near guest relations. And I didn't see police come or anything like that. So I'm assuming he got back into his car, but this guy was awesome. And I really appreciated all his help. And I just found in general, and I'll explain more as I continue on with the story, everybody that I came in contact with in Pittsburgh were so friendly and so helpful. I just don't think that it would be that way in Philadelphia. And so I give my ticket at the turnstile. They don't check my backpack. I was worried that I wasn't even going to be able to come in with the backpack because I wasn't sure it might be a little too big. But didn't even ask me to take a look inside. It could have been packed with C4, nothing. Blind people can be serial killers. I'm not, but they could. And the blind history lady, if you have any inclinations, you can go and read her stuff and she'll tell you about some blind serial killers. So I go to guest relations. As I start to walk, I ask at the turnstile and they say, yeah, it's walk about 10 feet and then hang a left and it's right over there. As I start to walk towards the door, a guy comes up to me and says, hey, can I help you? I said, yeah, I'm going to guest relations. Oh, follow me. It's right this way. And I go in there and I start talking to a guy. I said, I'm looking for a listening device so I can listen to the game. And they offer me this device, but they say it's the radio. It's similar to a transistor radio. It's just that it can be recharged with USB. They used to hand out transistor radios, but they were constantly changing batteries, they said. So I said, I'm not interested in one that's delayed because I want to know when the guy hits the ball, I want to know where it's going and whatnot, not 5 minutes after it's happened. I want to know, I hear the crack of the bat. I know the ball's been hit. I want to hear in my ear that hot shot to left, long drive to center, whatever it might be. So I explained to them how they had them in Houston. The device was called Listen, and they have similar devices in Baltimore and LA and a few other cities around the major leagues. And I stay in there another couple of minutes talking to a couple of the guys and girls. And finally I thank them and I head back out and I go back out onto the main concourse. And I figured, I'm just going to walk around. And I walk towards the outfield. I'm at the outfield and I get this really cool spot. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'll just stand here and watch the game. And I notice it's a ramp that kind of spirals up. I guess if I were up at the top, it would spiral down. But it's going to spiral up. And I was told nothing ever spirals up, but this ramp did. And so I take a blind selfie there. Well, first I take a blind selfie. I'm watching from the concourse behind home plate. And it was okay, but there was the overhang. So it wasn't the whole view where you'd see everything. Again, not that I would see everything, but it wasn't great for a picture. So that's why I started to wander. And I also had to use the bathroom. So I'm looking, I've got Seeing AI open and I'm just holding my phone up, trying to find the men's room sign, which I never did find at this point. So I go to that ramp and I take a couple of pictures. And I said, you know what, let me go up a level. And I keep going up and we're going up and up and up. And every level that I got, the view, it was just so green. I could see green, obviously. And the scoreboard was just to my left. So I took some pictures there. I took some video from out there and the game started. I do the national anthem from out there. And I continued to walk up until I got to the top. What outstanding views. And I took some video, which you're watching now if you're consuming this on YouTube. But it's a very nice stadium. And I talked to a couple of my friends and one guy said, wow, that's one stadium I heard is really nice, but I've never been to. And another friend said how nice the stadium was. He had been out there. I think he was out there last season. And it was just outstanding. And I thought, I'm just going to stand here. It's so nice. The breeze is blowing. But again, I have to use the bathroom. So I thought, you know what? Let me go down. I noticed there's a concourse. If I continue just a little bit further, I go down this concourse and I notice all the different stands are closed. And I get to one that's open. And again, it's probably not even close to a sellout. The Pirates aren't that good this year. Probably about 8 or so games under 500. And it's just not full. So I wander down and I find the men's room. So I go in, I use the bathroom, and I'm texting with Jane, and I was having trouble reading my ticket because it was reading it all together. and I couldn't figure out what I knew the section was 327, but I couldn't read the row or the seat number. So I sent her the picture. She tells me it's row D, and I don't remember what seat number. So I go there, and it's like the fourth inning at this point. I thought, you know what, maybe I will sit down. It was a pretty nice night out. I wasn't planning on staying too long because I can't see what's going on. And it was just really frustrating to me. And at one point, I hear the crack of the bat, the crowd, the entire stadium goes, oh. It was a guy named Powers from Milwaukee. And evidently he has powers because it turned out to be a homer that I thought it was. But the inning ended so quickly that I thought, oh, maybe it was just a long fly out because it just was like bing, bang, boom. Turns out the Pittsburgh pitcher that night was outstanding, and that was his only mistake. The Pirates ended up winning the game 2-1, but I'll get to that in a minute. I'm in section 327, and I figure, okay, I've got to walk through this hallway and go to the left. It tells me, I'm using Seeing AI, and I walk once I get to the opening at the end of this hallway, I go to the left. And I go up the stairs and I figure, okay, row D's got to be 4 rows, right? A, B, C, D. I go up 4 rows and I said, this is row D, right? And guy looks at me funny and looks down. I'm assuming he's looking down. The letters are on the pavement on the floor. He said, no, this is row L. I said, oh, okay. When I came out of the tunnel, I noticed that there were seats in front. I just assumed that was a different section. But I go back and I thought, let me get my phone out and get Seeing AI open so I can read the letters, because obviously if that's L, I've got to walk down a few rows. I'm only 4 rows from the overhang of the level. Take my phone out and I see some line on my screen. I don't know if it's words or if it's something else. It's not coming on though. I'm wondering, or what the heck is going on? And I'm tapping my screen. I'm trying to shut it off or turn it on. I then realize my phone is dead. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I don't even bother to look for the seat. I walk back into the concourse. And again, they have the radio broadcast playing or the TV broadcast, whatever it was, playing so I can listen to the game. But I'm thinking, what am I going to do? How am I going to get back to the hotel? How am I going to find my way around the stadium and read things? Because I use my phone for everything. I start to think and I'm like, wait a second. I have a couple of batteries in my backpack. Now I haven't charged them for probably a year or two. So I find a battery. I plug in a cord that's USB to USB-C, plug it into my phone, nothing. Find another one, same thing, nothing. Great. Now what? I then remember that I have my GoPro charger that has the brick on it. So I thought, where can I plug it in? And I thought, wait a second, I'm sure down at guest relations or guest services, whatever it's called, I can go and charge it, hopefully. So I make my way all the way back down there. Fortunately, I didn't need to read anything. I remembered how to go, because that was another issue that I thought, again, first time in this stadium, am I going to find my way back? And I fortunately had really no problem, other than there was a break in the action of, between innings. So it got busy when I got down to the concourse, much busier than when I first walked in. So I'm maneuvering past people and people are bumping into me and whatnot. But I get down to guest services and I said, do you guys, can I charge my phone in here? It just died. I didn't realize that it was even close. And I explained to them how using the Seeing AI to read everything and taking the videos and taking the pictures and everything else. I mean, the pictures and videos aren't causing me the issue. It's using Seeing AI constantly and having it running constantly to read everything and tell me what's around me and whatnot that is killing the battery. And again, it was the end of the day when I came here, so I'd already used about half of the battery. So I charged to 25%, and there was some drama going on there, and it was interesting to hear. But again, it's friendly. These people were so unbelievably friendly in there, not just to me, but to everybody that came in. Some people came in where it was their first game, their kid's first game. They gave them a certificate. My first Pirates game. Some people had won some prizes throughout the year, and this was the second to last home game of the year. So they were collecting those, and they were just so unbelievably friendly. So once my phone got to 25%, I thought, I'm going to go back out. I'm thirsty. I'm going to get a bottle of water if I can, and then watch some more of the game. At this point, the Pirates were ahead 2-1. I thought, let me go watch some more. I go back up to where I first came into the stadium and was behind the plate. I watched for a little bit, and I don't remember if there was one or two guys on. I wouldn't say it was the bottom of the sixth. And McCutcheon came up, and I like him for a couple of reasons. He played for the Phillies for a few seasons, but he also does voiceover and voice work for cartoons. And I always liked him. I was sorry to see him go when he left from the Phillies and ended up signing with the Pirates a couple of years ago. But I don't remember what he did. I don't know if he struck out again. I couldn't tell. I could hear the ball hit the bat. I could hear the ball hit the catcher's mitt and other gloves and whatnot, but I don't remember what he did. I don't think he struck out, but I don't remember. I don't know what he did. So I thought, it's now the 7th inning. I better go out. I better leave, because if I don't leave now, I don't want to leave when everybody else is leaving. It'll be impossible to get a ride share. So I take my water and I go down the stairs, and as I'm going down the stairs, there's somebody that works for the team that's coming up the stairs, and he's thanking all of us for coming to the game. As he's going past people, we're on the escalator, he's on the stairs. He's saying, thanks for coming to the game. Hey, we appreciate you coming to the game. Thanks for coming. We get down to the bottom of the stairs. There's another person. Hey, thanks for coming today. We appreciate your attendance today. I get closer to the gate. There's another person. Hey, thanks for coming. Hope you come back again either tomorrow or next season, blah, blah, blah. It was just unreal how friendly the folks there were. And I don't know that they would be that way in Philadelphia. I won't know until I find out that they have those listening devices, because $10 isn't a waste of money, because I enjoyed being out there, and it was better than sitting in the smelly hotel room. So I'm glad that I went. It was basically only cost me about $21 additional dollars instead of going from dinner back to the hotel, which was around $10 or $11. I went from dinner to the ballpark, which was $10 or $11. And then the ticket was $10. And then, of course, I bought the water. But had I waited to get back to the hotel, I didn't notice any vending machines or anything like that. So I don't know what I would have had. I needed water badly. So I go back to the hotel after that. And again, a couple of ride shares I order. After the guys, I'm waiting a couple of minutes. I message the guy, hey, I'm blind. I've got a black t-shirt on. I've got a long white cane. I've got a black backpack. And I'm standing by the stadium entrance where guest services is. Not that anybody would know that. I don't know if there's signs out there that say that. A couple minutes later, cancel. Give me another driver that is like 15 minutes away. I'm like, come on. Then I get notice after a couple minutes that they're changing. They found somebody closer to me, so they switched me to this guy. And this guy was very friendly. I was glad to have him. And we were talking about, how did you get to the game? How did you get around the stadium? And I explained to him how I'm doing. He said, oh, you went with somebody? I said, no, I went by myself. And that part, it was so nice to do that stadium and go to it and take the blind selfies and take the videos. Again, I don't know what I'm videoing. I mean, I know what I'm looking at, and I take my phone and I slowly pan around the stadium and whatnot. And I might see a building in the distance, and I take a picture of that. And at one point I saw what looked to be the skyline, and I took a picture and I sent it to Jane, and I said, how does this look? He said, oh, she said, those bridges look really cool. I said, oh, there's bridges. I mean, there's bridges all over the city, but there was a skyline view, but there were also bridges, and they looked cool, evidently. I get back to the hotel. It still smells bad, and I am exhausted. I was up at 6. I went to this event. It was just a busy day, obviously. I went to bed by 10:15. I was that tired. Put sleep mode on my phone, so I wasn't going to hear all these texts and whatnot. I had to get up at 5 the next morning because I didn't want to miss the train. There's one train from Philly to Pittsburgh each day, and one train coming back. The one coming back leaves at 7:30 in the morning. So I knew I wanted to make sure I was out the door by 6:15 at the latest, because I don't know how far I am. I knew going from the station to the hotel a couple of nights earlier, it only took me around 10 or 15 minutes, but that was, like I said, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. I didn't know how it was going to be during rush hour in the morning. And luckily, I planned accordingly and left early enough that when we hit the rush hour traffic and sat in that same spot where I sat the day before going to the event, it didn't bother me because I knew I had plenty of time. And I think I got to the train station at 6:45, 10 to 7. But here's the awesome thing. I walked into the station, and it's a small station. It's not very big. It's not like one of those Northeast corridor stations. And Baltimore is even bigger than this station. I was surprised because Baltimore wasn't a very busy station either. But I walked into the station and the seating area is packed. And I figured, I'm going to be sitting for 7+ hours. I'm just going to stand here. So I stand near a wall. This guy comes up to me. He said, "Mr. Goldstein, my name is Todd, and I'm going to assist you today when it's time to go up to the train." I said, "Wow, I feel like a rock star, Todd." I said, "And by the way, you can call me David." And he said, "Do you want me to guide you to a seat?" I said, "No, I'm good for now. But, whenever you need me, obviously you'll spot me and I'll go when you tell me to." I then realized I wanted to take the backpack off my back because it's still very heavy. And my back was killing me from lugging it around all day the day before. So I did make my way over to what I saw was an empty chair. I put the backpack down on it. I didn't sit down. And I called Liz and I talked to her for a little bit. She was taking Ziggy on a walk. She usually leaves around 7 o'clock. So I talked to her for a few minutes. And then Todd came back and got me and said, "Okay, we can go up now." And I said, "Okay." I hung up with Liz, went up, got on the train around 15 minutes later. And again, had the handicap seat in front. Somebody else ended up sitting next to me this time, which was a bummer, but it was still okay. I didn't put the hoodie on right away until I got chilly. But the ride home, and you're watching now, this was the speed that we went for a good chunk of from Pittsburgh to probably until we got close to Harrisburg. We didn't go very fast for a good chunk of it. And instead of taking about 7 hours and 20 minutes, we were about 49 minutes late. We were supposed to get in at 2:59 p.m. We didn't get in until 3:48 p.m. Lisa and I had an interview scheduled, so Lisa had to do it. And she and I then connected on Friday to do the intro and outro. But between the train being late and the traffic to get home from the station, I didn't walk in the door until after 5. I want to say 5:10, 5:15. So it was just a long day of traveling. And unfortunately, I didn't have all the snacks that I had with me when I was going out. I had some peanuts that Liz said were either some sort of hot peanuts or Cajun peanuts. I don't remember, but she had gotten them at Wawa. Wawa is a convenience store like 7-Eleven or Sheetz or Circle K, along those lines. The Quickie Mart on The Simpsons. She had gotten them when our ice maker was broken and we were having trouble. She would go to Wawa. They would give you cups of ice for free, but she felt bad for going in and just getting ice. So she would always buy one thing. And that was one of the things that she bought. So to me, it was a very successful trip, even though the travel issues on the Tuesday going to the station and on most of the day on Thursday coming home, I was exhausted when I came home. But I was happy that I went. Again, it was so important for the NFB to be represented at that event that to have missed it would have been an issue. And it would show that we weren't serious. I don't know all the ins and outs of the Pennsylvania Association of Blind Students. I don't know too much about the Parents of Blind Children organization that's a division here in Pennsylvania. I don't know too much about them. I was able to talk briefly about them, and I had texted Emily, who is the president of that division here in Pennsylvania. I said, "Can you give me an elevator pitch for the Parents of Blind Children organization so that I can convey that to these folks as I'm talking about all the other things?" And some folks who went to the event were excited. "Do you think they would do you think they would pay me to go?" One lady said about going to the convention in Erie. That's one thing. That's another thing about being there. Because we're in Pittsburgh, it's only about 2 hours from Erie. And some of these folks might want to go to the convention either for credits, continuing credits that they need in their professional life, or because they have a blind child and want to get more information about different things. So it was important to be there for that. And I was, again, so happy that I went. And I took what was a very long bookended travel day, 2 travel days, but I took that day where I not only did the thing that I needed to do, but I was able to do the stuff I wanted to do, dinner and surprisingly, the baseball game. And I was so happy that I went to that. It made me feel good that I was able to do it, navigate it on my own. And again, that's one thing that is so important for blind folks to get that confidence. First, you have to get the courage to go and do that stuff. And I had that. It was a matter of, do I want to spend the additional money in the rideshare, going to the ballpark and then paying? But when I saw it was only $10 and I was out there and I didn't know what I was going to do in the hotel all night, I thought, I'm going to do this. And I was just so happy that I did it. The saying is, you turn lemons into lemonade. And I wouldn't say that this was a lemon situation, but I made the most of that day, that full day that I had in Pittsburgh, to go and do other things, because that's one thing that I love to do when I'm in a city that I don't easily get to or normally get to. I want to do something that either go to a restaurant there, which I did that, and that was great. But then to add on the baseball game, again, just so happy that I did that. And when I go to Erie at the state convention, I know one of the nights I'm going to go to, I'll look up diners, drive-ins, and dives and see if they have a restaurant in or around Erie that I could go to. That's how I found Oohs and Ahs. Liz and I were going over when I was on the train going down to Washington one year. She was going through everything with me on Food Network and said, oh, here's a place for mac and cheese. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds great. And then I talked people into going. And now every time we go to Washington, we go there. So to do all that and to do it on my own, and I've gotten some shade thrown my way by some of my friends who are totally blind that, again, claim low vision, and it's fine. And I know the difference between being totally blind and being legally blind. The difference is huge. To have a little bit of vision is just so much easier to maneuver through things than when you have no vision. I get that. And I just don't think people realize how little vision I have. And I will never forget that when I had gone after, I think it was after my cornea transplant, the last cornea transplant, when I said to the doctor how great it was, how I could see the grout line in my tile for the first time in a while, he said, yeah, but you're still blind. I said, yeah, I know. But I said, I just can see better than, that lasted for maybe a month. And now it's going back down. So I don't know what the story is now. And we're trying some things, so we'll see what happens. But again, I know the difference between having even a little bit of vision that's usable. And again, I can't read with it. And I can't always tell where the steps are. And I run into things around my house all the time. And I bump into people and things when I'm out and about. But to have that little bit of vision is just a big difference than having no vision. I get that. And again, I get it from both sides. I have the sighted folks who think I'm helpless, and I have the blind folks who think, oh, you have so much vision, that's why you're able to do that. And so I do get it from both sides, and it's, I deal with it, whatever it is, that's fine. Show notes are available for this episode at iCantCU.com/272. That's iCantCU.com/272, numerically speaking. And remember, iCantCU sounds like a whole sentence, but it's only 7 characters long. iCantCU.com/272. Please reach out on social media at David Benj, DavidBenj, on Twitter or X, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, where you can listen to these episodes, or at iCantCU, where you can watch these episodes. If you're watching, thank you for watching. I do appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button so you get notified whenever I drop a new episode. You can reach out via email, iCantCUpodcast@gmail.com, iCantCUpodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach out via phone, 646-926-6350. Please leave your name and your town. If you do leave a message, you've got up to 3 minutes. Again, leave your name and town, questions, comments, show ideas. If you've been to a game and you've had one of those listening devices to hear it in real time, hear the action, I'd love to know about it. Please reach out. I never heard back from the Phillies, and their home season is over for now until the playoffs. So I don't know if they ever got it. I just don't know. I've emailed them several times, never got any response. And I'm guessing because I didn't get a response, they never actually started the program at Citizens Bank Park. But I look forward to trying to go to Flyers and Sixers games with a listening device. I don't know if either of them use it yet. Eagles, I'm not too interested in sitting outside in the cold, and I don't want to miss Red Zone, to be honest with you. But anything you've got, 646-926-6350. Again, I really do appreciate you listening or watching this episode wherever you're consuming it. Thank you so much. Be well, stay safe, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to the I Can't See You podcast with David. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen. And don't forget to share the podcast with your friends.